Well, it's the end of the day on Friday, and I'm exhausted. Teaching is rough. And so I teach middle school and teaching this class called Innovative Arts, where I'm trying to help kids become creators and think creatively and do projects. And during COVID, that's entirely impossible. Some kids are at home full time. We've been hybrid this entire school year. And so I've never had a full class in my classroom, but for the fifth and sixth grade, they're all in the building and half the class is somewhere else, spread out. And I'm over Zoom to their room. And there's always a few at home. And the seventh and eighth graders that I have, half of them are at home. Some of them are at home full time. And so it's been a heck of a year. And so this journey that I'm on to create this innovative arts class, it's been intense and really interesting. When I first started, I thought that if I just brought enough energy and if I just brought enough focus to the idea of, hey, you can be a unique creator and you can do things that are super cool, and I'm going to support you. I'm going to find materials. We're going to beg, borrow, steal, and do real things, that I thought I'd have a lot of student buy-in. And the opposite's been true. The more I try to guide and give instruction, the more students fall back on their old habits of, well, I'm just going to wait for the teacher to tell me what to do. But the more I give them freedom and the more open-ended the class is, the more students fall back on their habit of, if it's free time and there's no specific thing that has to be done by the end of this hour, I'm going to choose to do nothing. And those habits of mind have really been the challenge to overcome. And I think what encapsulates it really well is the question that the coworkers that are most engaged with this journey, they're active listeners, and the question that keeps coming into their head is, now, are these the eighth graders that you've had since fifth grade? And what they mean is, oh, the kids that you've had since fifth grade have had you for so long, and they've done so many things that by the time they're in eighth grade, they'll be doing impressive things and they'll be nailing it. And, first of all, my first year in this classroom wasn't great. And, trying to juggle all of the things that you're supposed to teach as a technology teacher with, here's how to use a CNC machine, and here's what a vinyl cutter can do. It's been one big juggle. And that question, have you had these kids since fifth grade? I've really kind of started resenting it, because you're not understanding how difficult it is to go against the stream of, assignments and rubrics, and here's what you should be doing specifically. I can give kids lots of options, and they respond better when I give them enough structure and enough deadline and enough prompting that, hey, you don't have an option to do nothing right now. You're either doing this project with me or that or that or that. And kids can really go off on their own. But it took me a couple of years to learn that. And, through most of this time, I thought the ideal workspace in this classroom, we've got a laser cutter, vinyl cutters, CNC machines, 3D printers. I thought, well, if I get some kids working on the 3D printers and some kids working on the CNC machines and some kids working on the vinyl cutters and a few kids working on the laser cutter, then they'll all be busy. They'll all be learning it. They can all go between them. And by the time they get to 7th and 8th grade, well, they'll have enough experience and they'll have enough. And that's not what happened at all. By trying to go that route, what ended up happening is that kids chose the easiest possible project that they can do in the CNC machine. Putting a word on a board, for example, and just really simple stuff. So they're excited. They see the machine that puts the word on the board, and they go home with that prop, but they don't see what they could be doing with it. They only see that really simple project, and they're not seeing anyone else doing something in 3D. They're not grasping all that could be. Now, there's been other times where I'm guiding them, and I'm giving them projects where, hey, here you are. There is a glow box that you can make, and here's other things that you can make. Well, kids are excited to do it. They'll work really hard. But what I'm finding is that when they walk in the next year, it's not that they've changed. I only have them for 9 weeks. And if I'll give them a project they happen to be excited about, they'll do it. But if they don't happen to be excited about that project, well, nothing's going to happen. So if it's on me to be entertaining, and if it's on me to constantly come up with the next greatest thing, then how is that different than anywhere else in school where the kid's sitting back and just waiting to be entertained? So the motto of Innovative Arts is trying to help kids become creators of their own type. And what I've created to help do that is the Creator Cycle and the Creator Pyramid. And I'll be sharing videos on that in the near future. You should look for them if you're watching this, not the day that it's published, because I have to help change kids' thinking and how they approach creating and what they get out of it. They're so used to waiting for a grade and asking, is this good enough? That as soon as the teacher starts flipping it on its head, there's all sorts of reaction kids have, and most of them aren't good. A lot of the habits of, the teacher doesn't have a deadline for me, which to me means, hey, you're working on it, you're trying, you're making mistakes. Maybe you get done with it the first time, you fail, and it's okay. But to them, what they hear is, so I could go on YouTube if he's not looking at me right now? Because that's a habit of mind that the kids have gotten into. So it's been so much more difficult than I expected it to be. It's been more difficult than I can communicate with my coworkers, because just because I've had a kid in this room trying to do cool stuff since 5th grade, for 1 quarter a year, it doesn't translate into these kids doing amazing things. I happen to have an 8th grade class right this minute, and they're finding unique things to do, and they're starting to think like creators. And I've just started to find this vocabulary to help them think like creators. And then once they start thinking and valuing mistakes and seeing that failure is not so bad, then they can start to retry projects and learn from their mistakes and make that second project better. But I've never taught that explicitly. I've always tried to just sort of hint at it. And so, as disappointing as it is to not have something figured out, I'm trying to do something that's so wildly different, and just the expectations are different, the way it's being taught is different, the opportunities are different, that I'd say about 3% of kids get it when they leave in 8th grade so far. It's the 3% of kids who are already doing and making and doing cool stuff with their parents, or they've grown up with a maker mindset. And I can see that number increasing. I'm going from 3% to 25% this year probably, after finding the language of thinking like a creator and organizing our thoughts, after throwing out all the paperwork that comes with emotional baggage for kids. As soon as you hand a kid a worksheet, they have so many experiences and habits that act up and are activated, that even handing a kid a sheet of paper anymore is something I don't want to do, because I don't want to deal with that baggage. So I'm hopeful and I'm excited about what has happened in this classroom. I'm really hoping to build a community of people who are also trying to help kids become creators. And that's why I've built and I'm giving all the resources that I'm creating for free at puzzleshiftcreate.com, because free is the only price that works for most other teachers and pretty much all other students. If I'm going to put any sort of paywall, even if it's $1, it's not going to work. And so I'd love for more people to be taking advantage of that. At least check it out. It's still growing right now, but as I start figuring out, okay, this is how you teach this project, here's how to do these cool things, and I can keep the cool projects that I'm making as examples, say, hey, I've got this motor, here's all the cool things you can do with it, and here's all of the resources I have to help you get there, and if you're not interested in that, then here's the project that we're doing together. all of this is new, and all of it's been developed just this year, during pandemic time. It's just, it's overwhelming to have so much ahead, and having had to put so much, I've come this far, and I've got so far to go. It's just, I'm exhausted. Well, I hope to hear from you. Leave a comment with what kids are like in your classroom, or if you would like to see a certain resource, if you want me to answer a certain question. I'd love to hear from you. If you watch the video this long, sincerely thank you. There are ones of you who would watch this whole video, so I do appreciate it, and I'd like to see what you're doing. I'd like to at least meet you, everything else. Bye.